a few have already joined, and I don't want to, I'm always respectful of time. So welcome everyone. It's the Life Project Thursday's guest speaker series. Tameka Peoples, of course, and of course, John Jamerson is on today, but we have a guest speaker from USDA Agricultural Marketing Services, which really focuses in on all things agricultural marketing, as well as getting procurement. There's a procurement division within USDA AMS, and I've invited Andrea Long and Torey Powell on to talk about USDA AMS and all the things that they offer, and to focus in on the procurement piece, because it's really a great program that I think we should learn more about. So I'll give Andrea and Torey an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then they'll walk you through their presentation. Welcome, Andrea and Torey.
Thank you. Torey, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'll be really brief because this is your show. This is your area. Hi, everyone. My name is Torey Powell. I'm the National Outreach Coordinator for the Agricultural Marketing Service, previously with the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement. I'm very familiar with the 2501 projects that you guys are working on, so I'm glad that we can make AMS part of that conversation. So yeah, if you need anything, I'll put my information in the chat. With that, I'll turn it over to Andrea.
Thanks. And I'm Andrea Lang. I am the new vendor coordinator for USDA Agricultural Marketing Service Commodity Procurement. And today I'm just going to be sharing a presentation about what commodity procurement is, what we do, what we purchase, and how everyone can participate in that. So yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Do you have share screen capability? I'm not sure if you, okay, you do.
Yes,
okay,
I do. So I'm going to go to my presentation. All right. And let me do, where's that little button? Okay, perfect. So, you know, I had an introduction, but I just did it. So I'll go to slide 2. So what is AMS commodity procurement? Well, AMS purchases over $3 billion of American-grown food in various forms and pack sizes, such as livestock, poultry, fruits, vegetables, dairy, grain, and oilseed. These purchases not only support American agriculture, but feed millions of school children, families, and other qualified individuals through USDA's nutrition assistance and international food aid programs. All the products we purchase must be 100% domestic, produced and processed. Supporting American agriculture is really central to our program mission. So AMS will only purchase products that are sourced domestically. We purchase truckload quantities for delivery to destinations. The commodities we purchase must be available in sufficient volume to meet the needs of national programs. So I highly recommend you visit the commodity procurement website, and I'll share links with Tameka and with everybody so you can know what I'm referring to. But on the website, you'll be able to see the huge list of commodities we purchase, what pack sizes, our solicitation schedule, just a whole bunch of fantastic information. So let's jump into the process of becoming an approved vendor. So the new vendor process can really be broken down into 6 steps. Today we'll briefly go over the AMS master solicitation. We're going to talk about product specifications and what happens after you become an approved vendor. But today I really wanted to focus on step number 3, which are those qualification requirements. So let's start with the master solicitation. So the master solicitation is the main body of every contract awarded by AMS. It will detail federal acquisition regulations, commonly referred to as FAR, which include provisions governing federal procurements like financial capabilities, small business subcontracting, pre-bid certification, product traceability, and more. So that's a lot of information, but basically what the master solicitation is it's a contract document. Read over it if you have any questions, and I'm sure you will. We have a policy branch, we have a senior contracting officers who will be able to to kind of explain what some of those phrases and FAR clauses and different requirements that we have for all of our contracts, what they mean. So they'll be able to explain that and give you better clarification. But this is something that you will want to look at because it is a governing body of all of the different contracts that we have. And throughout this presentation, you're going to notice that at the top of the screen, I'm going to have these red little FAR clauses. And what those are for are, those are to explain why we're requesting some of the items, such as a company letter or customer references. So that kind of gives you an example of what a FAR clause is. There we go. So let's talk about product specifications. So before you get into bidding, I suggest you take some time to review the USDA commodity specifications. So these are on our website. And it's critical that you understand these because they are the technical requirements for the products. So USDA takes product integrity very seriously, and we expect that our vendors supply products that consistently meet the quality and safety expectations of our customers. Because we are dealing with some vulnerable populations, children, elderly, people in disaster relief. So we have these specifications which detail technical requirements for the product and production, which include raw materials, formulation, packaging and packing, inspection, and certifications. So we also do amendments, which are changes to the specifications every few years. Sometimes we'll review our specifications and see if we can make some changes. So be sure to read through all of those documentations. And if you have questions about certain items on the specifications, we have our program areas, livestock and poultry, specialty crops, which handles fruit and vegetables and tree nuts, who can answer those questions for you. Okay, so on our new vendor website, we have a new vendor qualifications document, and it lists the information that I'm going to briefly go over today that AMS needs for you to approve you as a vendor. Again, you'll want to read this document fully and understand before submitting an offer to AMS. And we also have at the end of the package a handy dandy little checklist for you to help gather that necessary information. And sometimes folks will email me and ask, how do I become an approved vendor? And I always include a copy of the checklist. So if you would like a copy, I'll give my contact information and we'll send you those documents as well. Okay, so let's get down to like the nitty-gritty stuff. Let's talk about the steps that you need to become an approved vendor. So first is going to be our System for Award Management, or SAM. SAM is a federal government-owned, operated, and free website. Every vendor who wants to participate in a federal government procurement must be registered in SAM. You can also register your company in SAM as a small business, service-disabled veteran-owned small business, HUBZone, 8A, or woman-owned small business. Please note that if you are interested in receiving small disadvantaged business, HUBZone, or 8A certifications, you will need to refer to the Small Business Administration to complete that process. So while SAM is a one-time registration, you do have to update or renew your registration annually. This system is 100% free, but please be aware that there are similar systems that will charge a hefty fee, and there's no fee to register in SAM. I can't tell you the number of emails I'll get from folks who have, saying, I got this email that is a little funny and they're asking for $600 to register me in SAM. And I'm like, do not answer that. That is spam. SAM is 100% free. If you do run into trouble with SAM, getting registered, getting through that process, there is a help tab on SAM's website. It features FAQs, user guides, helpful hints. You can also contact the SAM help desk, which I have the number right there. But for me, I think the best way or the best assistance in SAM is with the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, or PTAC. So PTACs provide free counseling and training for vendors that want to do business for the government. If we go to the PTAC website, and I have it linked there, you'll see that PTACs are located all over the country. So, and one of the great things about PTACs is their free help with SAM registration. They even have a web page that's going to highlight their assistance with SAM, general tips, and videos. So if you are stuck in SAM, they're the number one, trying to think of the word, but they're fantastic resource. So the number one thing I would recommend above even the SAM help desk. So next in your package is going to be a WBSCM vendor registration form, which is needed to create a user profile. Again, in an email, I can send you a copy of that document, and it's also linked to our website. Another item that we would need would be a company letter. So the company letter should certify the company's performance, tell us about your company, the products you're interested in providing, a brief history. Doesn't have to be long, but we do want to know more about your company, who you are, the products you provide, what pack sizes you provide them in, because we want to make sure that your products can match the products that we want to provide in the pack sizes that we have. If you want to look at the different products we provide, once again, I'm going to recommend to look at our purchase schedule, which is on our website. So the company letter, the format-wise, it should be on company letterhead, and it should be signed by a principal of the company. All right, so we're also going to need 3 letters of references from satisfied customers. The reference letter should be on the customer's letterhead, signed with a phone number and address for verification purposes, and it should mention the specific professional relationship that they've had with your company. Sometimes we'll see letters that have the same type of language, and we try to ask for, we try to step away or keep away from that, because what we want is we want each reference to be personal. That, you know, Giant Foods has had a fantastic experience with Farmer Joe's fresh apples, and they've been working with Farmer Joe for 25 years, and we've never had an issue. They've always had timely deliveries. So that's kind of just a really lame example of what we're looking for in a customer reference. Now, for assessing financial capabilities, we require the most current financials. The financials must be audited or reviewed by a CPA in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles, and at a minimum have a balance sheet, profit and loss statement, statement of cash flows, statement of retained earnings, and any notes to the financial statement. If you can't make this requirement, please let me know, and I can refer you to our senior contracting officer and our policy group, and we can talk about an alternative. I believe the alternative that is being worked on a case-by-case basis is what we call a performance bond. So that would be an alternative. And another important reminder is that we require the legal name on every piece of documentation. So your legal company name should match the company name registered with your state. You can verify your company name by visiting your Secretary of State's website. And I actually didn't know that every state had a Secretary of State until not too long ago. So that's a fun fact if you didn't know that. I didn't.
Oh yeah, each one has one.
Okay, so once you've gone down that list, checked each item off, you can send the complete package to me via email at newvendor@usda.gov. We process all the new vendor applications and work with the approving contracting officer in reviewing them. Your financials are going to be sent to our financial officers for review. We consider financials to be 100% proprietary information. They are encrypted, password protected, and only seen by myself, the approving contracting officer, and the financial analyst. We'll also communicate with you, the prospective vendor, if anything needs to be adjusted or changed. And I like to tell people, we never reject a vendor. You know, let's say maybe you don't have 3 customer references at that time, or you're a startup company. We never reject a company. We always ask that you go and you get some experience and you gain some gain some experience in the private industry, and then come back and be approved by us. You know, that's happened quite a bit. So we've had vendors who maybe they didn't have strong financials, maybe they were new and didn't have all those references. So what we do is we ask to get some more help. We refer them to the Small Business Administration, and a couple months to a year later, they come back and they get approved. So, you know, don't panic, don't worry. You're never going to be like marked off on a list. You know, we're always willing to help you. Okay, you go to the next page. So once your application has been submitted, you're going to receive an email from the Senior Contracting Officer. The email will detail who you need to contact to complete your audits and inspections. I recommend that while you're even submitting your paperwork, to go ahead and ask us, who would I need to contact for an audit or an inspection? And we can refer you to those folks. It's okay to start working on those technical requirements while you're working on that paperwork. It's a great way to kind of get ahead of the game. And once again, I cannot stress the importance of going through the food specifications and the master solicitation prior to bidding. All right, so you've gone through all of those steps. You've gotten the email from the contracting officer. So what's going to happen next? Well, next we're going to take that WebSCM vendor registration form that you filled out. We're going to upload that into our system. Once that occurs, you're going to receive an email from the WebSCM help desk asking for additional information to be filled out, like setting up users and plans into our bidding system. Please read this email, save this email. It is our lifeline into your system, into our system. And by not reading through that email and following the steps, it's going to hinder you in submitting your bid in a timely manner. And if you have any questions about bidding, how to bid, how to submit a bid, please email the WebSCM help desk. They're there to give you assistance. They have a training site. They offer some really great step-by-step resources on how to bid, how to invoice. So they're a wonderful tool. Next would be how you receive bid invitations and information about new specifications that come out. Well, in that handy-dandy email that you receive from WebSCM, you're going to see that there is a description on how to sign up for Gov Delivery, which is our emailing list. So make sure you look at that Gov Delivery emailing list, check on it, check off the different things you're interested in, so you will see those emails directly to your inbox. And I also mentioned the master solicitation commodity specifications just one more time. Okay, so let's talk about some of the benefits with small business participation and set-asides. So AMS assists small businesses in competing in our programs through the use of special programs and solicitation set-asides. A full and open solicitation, first of all, is when approved vendors of all sizes compete to be awarded the contract without any restrictions. In contrast, under a set-aside solicitation, only offers from approved small businesses are accepted. So if you see a solicitation that is on our website that says contains set-asides, that means that a portion of that contract or all of that contract is set aside for small businesses. So there are important factors that make the determination to have a small business set aside, and that's called the rule of two. And to understand that competition is a critical factor in ensuring that USDA is offered fair and reasonable prices. So AMS in that rule of two means that we must have at least 2 small business vendors who can produce and deliver the product before we can designate a set aside. And that rule is established by the FAR. So right now, AMS has product-specific set-asides for the general categories of, we have small businesses, service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, hub zones, 8As, or women-owned small businesses. So we don't have set-asides for other socioeconomic categories at this time, apart from the ones I listed, and that is because the Small Business Administration has classification system, and right now the codes that we use are not on that list. but that is subject to change. You know, a couple of years ago, we didn't have women-owned small business set-asides, and SBA made a change where the NAICS codes that we use, we can now have those small business set-asides for women-owned businesses. So it's going to change all the time. And hopefully with this new administration, it'll be adding some more socioeconomic categories to that list. So we also have 2 additional programs that I want to talk about because, you know, we do have a list of products that we purchase, but it doesn't really have a lot of fresh products. You know, we do fresh apples, fresh citrus, potatoes, but we don't do some of those other things like tomatoes or cabbage or onions. Those are things we don't typically purchase in our regular purchases, that I like to call them. And so if you are a farmer that, let's say you're an onion farmer, or you do squash or zucchini or something like that, we have these 2 additional programs. So the first I want to bring up is the Unprocessed Pilot Project for fresh fruits and vegetables. In conjunction with Food Nutrition Service, which is our sister agency, the pilot project was created to provide participating states the ability to utilize their USDA foods entitlement dollars in their competitive procurement of unprocessed fruit and vegetable products. So these include even minimally processed products such as sliced apples, baby carrots, and shredded lettuce. So for more information on that pilot project and the eligibility requirements, which are less in scope than what I just went through, you can view our website and look at the vendor requirements. And then we also have a great email that is checked on a daily basis. So you can see those 8 states participating, or even if you're in a neighboring state but can deliver to those 8 states, please check out the Unprocessed Pilot Project. Next, we have our latest program, which is this is going to be a mouthful, the Emergency Food Assistance Program Fresh Produce Package, or TFAP Fresh Produce Package. So pandemic assistance funding has been made available to supplement the TFAP program for the remainder of the fiscal year ending September 30th of 2021 by purchasing a fresh produce package for distributors. So we already have a TFAP program. This is food that we go to food banks. So what has happened is we provided additional money to create kind of a fresh produce package to supplement the TFAP program going to food banks as a result of the pandemic. So for more information on the TFAP Fresh Produce Package, you can view the website, you can look at the qualification documents, or look at the email that we have. And I am in charge of the TFAP Fresh Produce email, so I can certainly tell you that I check that on a daily basis. But all fresh produce, for both programs, must be grown and produced specifically in the United States. So just keep that in mind. Everything must be 100% domestic still. All right. So let's say you're looking at all of these things and you're just like, nope, I'm not going to do any of that. That's a lot of work. I don't have time for it. That's okay, because I want to bring up another thing that we have, and that is subcontracting opportunities. So there's farmers and producers can partner with our approved vendors to supply product. So if you go to the new vendor webpage, scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to find our qualified bidders list, and that's what it looks like, that image right there. So each of those lists are going to have points of contact for different vendors that'll list what products they provide, and you can partner with them directly to provide specific products. So an example I have is, let's bring back Farmer Joe. So Farmer Joe sells dried figs, and he wants to gain some work with or experience with USDA foods, and we don't purchase just dried figs. So he looks at that fruit and vegetable list and sees, hey, there's a Stutz Packing, and they are an approved vendor for dried fruit mix. I'm going to contact Stutz Food Company and see if I can create a partnership. They're in the same area. So Stutz agrees, hey, that's perfect. We need some dried figs for our fruit and nut mix. So they work together. Stutz is awarded a package with USDA for a dried fruit mix. and they get the figs for that fruit mix from Farmer Joe. So that's just a real basic example. Same thing for ranchers. If you provide cattle, we have livestock, and we have processors who are looking for cattle or for raw materials, so they can create ground beef products or patties. It runs a gamut. So while acting in a supplier role, remember that you don't need to complete all those administrative requirements. All you need to do is make sure that your company or your farm will adhere to our commodity specifications and ensure that your company will meet our inspections and audit requirements. Oops. Okay. So if you guys have any questions, I know I just went through a lot of information in a very short amount of time. Please feel free to contact me. That is me and my email. We also have Linda Steigerwald. She's my counterpart in Kansas City. She does international purchases. We don't do fresh fruit and vegetables for international purchases, but we do vegetable oil, we do peanut products. I believe we do dried beans and lentils and peas, obviously things that are shelf stable that can go cross overseas. So she's also another wonderful resource. And I know it's a lot of information, but I'm also available for questions if you have any.
Great presentation. I had a little bit of feedback. Sorry about that. Thank you for that, Andrea. I did actually have a question regarding the inspection.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what does it entail? How long does it take? And then, of course, I'll have a follow-up question. But that really was one of my key things for a new startup vendor. What should they be expecting during that inspection process?
It really depends on the product. So, for example, for like fresh fruit and vegetables or nuts, you're going to need like a good agricultural practice, good handling practice audit. So I always like to refer folks to those program areas, and they can get in contact with our folks in DC and schedule audits with regional offices around the country. Now, what the specifics of what those audits entail, I'm not entirely sure, so I don't want to give any false information, but I can tell you that our teams and our counterparts in DC and in our regional offices will walk them through what is needed specifically for those.
Fair enough. And my second question was centered around subcontracting. Do you guys call out in your contracts whether or not there's a requirement for subcontracting? I know I do government contracting, and sometimes there's a subcontracting, a FAR requirement for subcontracting, and they'll talk about the level of percentage that subcontracting is required. Is that something you guys similarly do within AMS?
We do. So every large business that is awarded a contract of, I believe, $700,000 or $750,000 and above must subcontract. So we will look at our large vendors who are awarded that and reach out to them with a subcontracting plan. And they do have to meet certain requirements. USDA has goals. I believe it's 23% for small business, 5% for women-owned small business, 5% for 8A possibly, and then 3% for hub zone, veteran-owned and service-disabled veteran-owned. So they have to provide documentation on subcontracting, and then we go through the process of approving it with our senior contracting officer, our Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, and SBA. And then I actually just sent last week our subcontracting directory information to the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, and they will go ahead and post the directory not just for AMS but for all of USDA on their website.
Okay, and are there any tips for farmers with respect to 8A? It seems as if you guys don't have like a social economic status, but 8A is a good substitute for that. have you had any stories of either success or useful tips for the 8A process for farmers, since it seems as if you guys do have shreds and or set-asides for 8A?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So 8A is, what I like to tell folks with 8A is that it can be a pretty labor-intensive application process with SBA, and it is good for a certain number of years. We have had several companies that we've worked with. We've had a juice vendor that we've worked with, and we've had another agency that I feel like they did everything. So, and they were able to graduate from the program. So we have had success. When it comes to food products in 8A, I will say that we don't typically get 2 8A vendors to justify a set aside. So when that happens, what we do is an 8A offer. So that 8A can compete just by themselves, not even really competing. They can go ahead and submit their offer and be considered an 8A. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a set aside. Same thing with Hub Zone. The Hub Zone process is also extensive with SBA. We don't really have 2 Hub Zones to justify a Hub Zone set aside. So what we do is a Hub Zone price preference, where that Hub Zone can put in prices that I believe have to be within 5% of like the lowest bid, 5 or 10%.
Understood. Thank you so much. I will, there's several other questions. John, do you want me to go ahead and read the questions so Andrea can answer them?
Sure.
Okay, cool. We have a question from Dale Blue that is, it says, what is the most important thing for a small woman farmer to know and to get approved as a contractor?
I would say to, first of all, be patient with the process. This is pretty labor intensive, and to please read over the specifications and our master solicitation and make sure that you can provide that product to commodity procurement. Because I've seen farmers go through the process and they're just so excited and they want to get in, they want to bid, but you know, at the last minute they'll realize, oh, well, I don't have products in that specific pack size, or I didn't know I had to get an audit, or I failed my audit, what do I do? So just be patient and please read over all those technical requirements, because those are the things that you need to make sure that you can meet before even jumping into those administrative requirements. And also ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask questions. So please ask me, and if I don't know the answer, then somebody else certainly will.
Thank you so much.
For anybody who would want to get into the 8A program or anything like that, is there a place or that you would recommend that they start?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part of the question.
Is there a place that you recommend they start? I know it's with SBA, and I'm asking this to help those that are in the group and those who may listen to this later, be able to understand a little bit more about that program and how that works for them, and what are the benefits of being in that 8A program.
Right, so with an SBA 8A program, basically I almost think of it like school, where you can work for about 9 years trying to establish your business, and you kind of get a little bit of a leeway with pricing when it comes to government contracts. Everybody has an SBA goal, so what I would recommend is if a company is interested in becoming an 8A, go to the SBA website. They have a great 8A webpage, and they will offer step-by-step training and documents. They also have, I think it's every Tuesday or the first Tuesday of the month, they have kind of like a big question and answer session that you can call in and they will have somebody answer any question on 8A. I know I've even been in there, been asking questions for vendors about certain things. So they're great. And then also look at the district offices. District offices with Small Business Administration have an 8A representative. So depending on where you live, in your nearest SBA office, they should have an 8A representative to help a company work through that.
And I've also found that your PTAC officers are sometimes very helpful with the pathway into 8A. Anything government procurement, typically your PTAC representatives do have really knowledgeable information on, but I agree, all of those resources are really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to second you with the PTAC. PTACs are absolutely incredible. I feel like they have a backdoor into everything. So in SAM, in HubZone, and a whole bunch of things. So yeah, they're a fantastic resource to kind of go through that government contract and just kind of work through that. It's a lot. And if anybody's interested, I just put the link in the chat about 8A business development programs with the SBA. So feel free to check that out.
Excellent.
I was going to go with another question, or really just a follow-up to the subcontracting point. One of the, I guess, hidden gems around government contracting is subcontracting and teaming. In other spaces, they call this teaming. But the subcontract space, in the AMS world, do you guys see that as a viable option? How many contracts do you guys typically see in the procurement spectrum that includes a subcontractor? Or do you guys mostly see the larger omnibus ones come through and it's just one, maybe two vendors that are doing it? Because I was going to speak to the power of subcontracting and teaming, but I first wanted to understand what is that kind of percentage on the AMS end that you guys actually do see the subcontract relationship work out, especially for those who are just starting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We see a lot, and I think that has become an ongoing trend. We work with a lot of distributors, and distributors work with a lot of producers and a lot of farmers. So one of the things that distributors will do is they'll provide supplier letters or list the vendors that they work with, and that is becoming the trend, is subcontracting. So it's what I see a lot. I see a lot of co-ops, I see a lot of distributors, I see a lot of partnerships that are starting to form. So it's something that's pretty common that I don't think a lot of folks know a lot about. and it's something that I really recommend because it is a great way to kind of get some information and gain some insight about government contracting. But at the same time, it's not all being put on someone's shoulders in terms of getting a bid in and dealing with some of those little things that perhaps a up and coming business or a small farmer may not feel so comfortable doing.
Right, and that was going to be my point. I know that it's not the exact same realm, but some of the best forays into government contracting, if it is your first time, is that subcontract teaming relationship. You get the opportunity to be a part of an omnibus one. Even think about, let's say, the Life Project, right? In the Life Project, we're great partners. Most of us, we think of ourselves as a collective, but there's a prime and a sub type of relationship, if you will, between most of the partners, and that's the best way to do it, or to think about doing it. So I just think differently about that sometimes, but it certainly would encourage those who are really looking to get into this space, but want to maybe dip their toe in and not really comfortable about some of the other requirements, is to consider the subcontracting option. Because most distributors, like you said, they're omnibus distributors. They're going to work with farmers and suppliers who can supply and consistently. And as long as they have that relationship, then they can continue to secure contracts. So it's not a bad option to consider. I also like that you guys have like an AMS newsletter. I have found that your AMS newsletter has a lot of helpful information about your up and coming contract procurements coming up. I see a lot of dried fruit, catfish. I mean, you'd be very surprised about what is actually being purchased by USDA AMS. So certainly encourage those to sign up for the newsletter because there's great information in there. I see a lot of bottled juice contracts too. Chef Joseph is on here. He does a ginger alkaline juice, and I know that that might be of interest to him as well. But so the newsletter is also very helpful. I encourage folks to sign up for that, just to see what's out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we also have something called Section 32 purchases. When you said catfish, that reminded me of that, because what a Section 32 purchase is when industry reaches out to USDA and needs some help with the market. So because of COVID-19, we've been purchasing products we've never purchased before. Shrimp has been a big one. We have ground fish, we've done pecans, we've done walnuts, just pistachios, items that are not on our list for whatever reason. So, you know, we've just been purchasing a whole bunch of new and different products. And I'm happy to announce that we are going to start doing set-asides for Section 32 purchases as well. So that would be something that you would want to look into.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that.
You guys are doing seafood now, you saying?
Yes. So we do, as part of our regular purchases, we do canned salmon, frozen salmon, we do frozen pollock, we do catfish, and then some of the things that are not part of our purchases, but we're doing for Section 32, we've done shrimp, we are talking about doing clams. So, and they'll be announced when we are going to start gaining like more information and letting industry know about that. But yeah, we do seafood.
And can you, I know international is not necessarily your sweet spot, but can you talk, I know we have some great members on here who are connected internationally, and think about that level of distribution, like what do our farmers have here that can be provided to, you know, contract or international contract opportunities, because USDA does purchase similar items and then exports them internationally into other countries, right? What is that process like? Is it similar? Is there another pathway, or is it pretty much the same except the award might say international? Again, as I mentioned, I have the newsletter, so I see the international and the domestic, but I'm just trying to understand what the pathway is. Is it different?
Right, absolutely. That's a great question. And the application process is the same. So for international, it's pretty much the same. Linda is fantastic, and she will talk with folks about different things, but we really do have the same process. And you know, just we'll send out procurements and go ahead and get all that stuff delivered. In fact, we sometimes have international vendors that are like, hey, I want to do domestic, and they just switch over to domestic, just pretty simply. So
fair enough. Thank you.
I had a quick question about your unprocessed pilot project. Now that's only if I remember correctly, like in 8 states right now.
Yes, that's right.
And so, but you said that if you're a neighboring state to one of those states, that you might be able to participate in that. So does that mean that I would have to register through that state? Like if I saw one of them was in Michigan, which is a neighboring state to Indiana. So right. Would I have to register what I'm doing with the state of Michigan, or would I would I have to go through what's going on here in Indiana, or how does that work?
So you can register with Indiana, or really it's not like registering with the state. You would be registering with USDA, but you would need to make sure that you can deliver items to that state. So for example, if you're in Indiana, delivering to the state of Michigan. So that's, and then you would be working with, they have F&S representatives from Michigan that you could work with, but really vendors primarily work with USDA. The way it works out is vendors work with USDA and the recipients work with F&S.
Okay.
So as a vendor, you would be, even though you're in Indiana, you'd be working with USDA, and then the Michigan recipients would be working with their Michigan representative in food nutrition service.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and find that pilot project email or website to put up too. Here we go.
And we got Tameka's talked about Darrell's kick sauce that his ginger drinks that he does. He also has a kick sauce, which is similar to a hot sauce that he does. He's the one that I was sharing with you guys earlier about the program that he does on teaching how you take from start to finish on a recipe product. So if you had something like that, as long as it meets the requirements of what you guys are looking for in your whatever you're putting out to ask for, you can do that. Or is there special things that need to be in order to meet the requirements of the USDA?
So for commodity procurement, we don't necessarily purchase, they have to be specific items. So we don't purchase things like a hot sauce or like a sauce, like a ginger drink. So we do like to refer vendors to Food Nutrition Service because they are responsible for that list. They also can sell directly to schools. So I also would recommend contacting their local state office. So every state's going to have a food nutrition service or agricultural office that works with the schools, and they can contact them directly. And when it comes to the requirements for that, they would have to meet specific USDA inspection requirements. So I think that would be the requirements they're looking for, as opposed to going through all of the new vendor steps that we have.
Okay.
That's right, because you said most of the food items that you all are purchasing goes to food banks, SNAP programs, things like that, right? So they could go directly to those lead contract agencies who are receiving those items and then become a contractor to them. Is that how that would work?
Absolutely. So if there's a product that we don't necessarily purchase, you can go directly to the source and you can go ahead and work with them, make sure you have your product inspection, because I believe they're going to want some type of proof of that, and start doing your business that way. And actually, some of the businesses that we work with will get reference letters from food banks or from states or schools, you know, recommending a certain person and their product.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. You know me, I can dominate the questions. Those are all that I had. Thank you so much for including that.
Sure. Torey, that is a great question. I have a question, and so does Torey. Where can we get a hold of this kick sauce? Because that does sound delicious.
The good thing is he's in
Virginia.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Darrell, ain't no sense in being bashful. And if you're talking, you're muted.
I think sometimes we have a went, but he's sometimes ending up processing or something like that. But yeah, we have a number of type of vendors. I know Mr. Tutt is on here. He does microgreens. So there's several vendors and value-added producers on here that, you know, this is all Jumbo. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry.
You feel by that voice, he's a big boy and he brings in the big greens.
My sincerest apologies, sir. But Joe Collar, that's what I normally see that, so I'm brought to it. But yeah, this has been very helpful and useful information. Just insight into different USDA resources like this that kind of opens our aperture up to, you know, who else could be buying, who else could we be selling to, what are the different avenues of partnership. So those are certainly all the questions I had, but I definitely want to open it up. Is there any other questions out there from the teammates? Anything that wasn't covered or had interest in? Maybe we can help answer those.
I think Darrell was trying to speak. He had to jump out. Now he's coming back in. So give him an opportunity. I don't know if he's able to. Darrell, you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, I am. Yep, I apologize. One of my devices went down, and today has been a really busy day. I'm glad to be able to be here to hear the Zoom call. And yeah, so basically, you asking me, do I have any questions to add, or just expound on what we're doing here?
Well, they want to know where they could get that kick sauce at.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good question. Right now, our products, and thank you for have me on as well as far as the group. So the product, I heard a little bit about what you were saying as far as the products, being having paperwork attached to it, having the paperwork, and we do have all the paperwork attached to the products that we do, sending them off to the test labs, and even with the health inspections, everything that's required to make the product a consumable item. So, however, we're rebuilding our new website. I have a new website platform coming up. The website was, and it still will be, chefjosephskicksauce.com, but it's actually down because I have a new platform that is coming up, a far better website platform. But other than that, that's what we do. And I'm open for any questions or whatever. And I apologize because my device went down, so I missed some of the things that was going on. Yeah. Thank you.
Now you're in Virginia Beach, right, Darrell?
Yes, sir. Yep. So we manufacture our products locally and here at near the ocean front in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and been in the business for about 13 years. And so what we do specialize in is recipe development. So if you have a product, you can cook, fry, bake, whatever your idea is, how to put it into a bottle and monetize it. And that is basically what we do on this end here.
Well, Andrea's in Virginia also, and Torey in DC, and you have to share some information so that you can them be able to sample your products and stuff.
Certainly, yep. I certainly will. I'll be glad to send some samples up of the ginger drinks with alkaline water and the kick sauces. We have a seasoning as well. And I've just developed a new relish, and it is really, really good as well. And it's all natural, dealing with cabbage, onions, vinegar, and a couple other things, trade secret wise. But it's really good. And it's yellow too, so it's very good. But anyway, I'll stop right there.
I'm sold.
Put your email in the chat, Darrell.
Okay.
That way they can be able to contact you, and you'll be able to contact them. And I'm gonna ask Andrea and Torey to put their information in there also for anybody else who might want to contact them and ask them questions that might pop up later on, because we always get those questions where they're like, I had this question I was wanting to ask, and it's like, well, why didn't you ask when they were on there?
Yeah, I just put my email in the chat, and then I'm gonna I sent a copy to Tameka, but I'm gonna send a spreadsheet that's got the list of all the products that we purchase as well.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great. And so, and we'll have Tameka share that, and we'll make sure that everybody that's on the list can get a copy of all that information and everything, and we can go from there.
Yes, and please do reach out. I mean, that's why we're here, to help you through the process of, whether it's becoming a vendor, whether it's just engaging with USDA, AMS. If there's another agency you're having trouble getting connected to, we're happy to make that connection and assist that way. So yeah, please do reach out. That's why we're here. Your success is our success. And so we're happy to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to piggyback off of what Torey said, even though maybe you don't provide a product like that, if you are interested in getting with USDA or getting to the food banks or to your local area, please let us know, because we can certainly help you find the folks who, can get you there. So
Sounds great.
No,
better than looking on your own, because our website is hard to find.
Right. Well, thank you guys so much for presenting this evening and really going through the breadth and depth of everything that USDA AMS has to offer us with respect to procurement. And I'm sure the team learned a lot. Really appreciate your time this evening. And I certainly don't have any more questions. I think we kind of exhausted those. John, any last words?
I'm good. If you guys are good, just want to thank everybody for showing up. We're doing our best to try to make sure that we are getting out there to what they call socially disadvantaged farmers and stuff, the information that is needed. So we appreciate you guys showing up. We'll appreciate those who will view this later on. And if you guys have any questions about anything or any specific topic that you guys would like to touch on, feel free to contact us, and we'll be able to pass that information on and try our best to get that. So we're always looking for trying to get the latest and greatest information out there that pertains to us, and try to get the most knowledgeable individuals that we can find to help walk us through all the different components. So with that being said, if there's no more questions or anything, I just want to thank everybody. Thank Tameka and our guests, Torey and Andrea, for showing up and for the information that you share. I find it to be very informative, and I think that many of our members and stuff will find that to be beneficial for them also.
Thanks, guys. All right,
Have a
great
good
evening.
evening.
Thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Have a good one.